everybody. So today we're out here with Can-Am side-by-side lineup, but as you can see, these aren't just regular side-by-sides. They're all fit with Apache Backcountry track kits, and these kits are meant for one thing, tackling the deep snow. That's why we're here in Parc de Grand Jardin, about 2 hours outside of Quebec City, and we're gonna find the biggest snow that we can and put these things to the test. Makes these Apache Backcountries so ready for the snow? Well, first of all, let me say this is the Backcountry LT, which just means that it's a much longer track, and here it's fit to a Maverick X3. Now, what makes them so good for the snow? The slide rail. So this is snowmobile technology. Of course, Can-Am is Bombardier, which is Skidoo. So these guys have been making snowmobiles for years and years. So they're experts at using these. If you see on the 360 kit, the kit that Can-Am sells for year round, it uses wheels all the way down, which are better for, you know, grip in different surfaces, but that track is super tight and it doesn't allow any of the give that you kind of want in the snowy conditions. The other thing that the slide rail does is it makes sure that these lugs stay straight. If you have the idler wheels, the lugs can kind of bend in between the wheels. Here it's getting a lot of really direct down pressure, so these stay nice and straight. And again, for the snow, these are 2-inch lugs to make sure you got a lot of digging power. So the other big difference compared to those year-round kits is here you can see it's an exposed drive gear, and that also just allows for some of this track looseness, which really helps to kind of bend and be malleable for the snow. If you look at those other 360 kits, the drive gear is all internal, and that also allows for some slippage. There's no slippage here, and it allows for this kind of looser track, which is nice. And then one other thing I should show you as well is back here at the back is you can drop this track off of here by just simply taking off one of these bolts. This whole unit pops forward, whole track comes off, track goes back on, that tightens it down, and you're good to go. So these things have definitely been designed as well for ease of use. So another hugely important factor is ground clearance, because you have so much body here and you really just can't have it dragging in the snow. So you'll see the front end of this X3, it certainly did eat a lot of snow today, but if we take a look at the ground clearance with the Backcountry track kit, it actually adds 7 inches of ground clearance. So this thing really sits up off the ground. And you know what? It did plow a little bit today, but while driving it, I never noticed. If it was plowing, if it was rubbing on the belly, I never had that issue because the tracks give you so much grip. All right, there's the X3. My man Nick's driving, coming in hot. And there's Mr. Snowman. Goodbye, Mr. Snowman. And right there in the front bumper, there's the rest of Mr. Snowman. We've had a chance to ride these machines all morning now, so let me share some of my thoughts with you. You can see behind me, there's the Maverick X3, and just straight up in terms of power, that's definitely the machine you want. We've also been riding the Defender, and they have a Can-Am Maverick Sport out here, and both the Defender and the Maverick Sport, you can find the power limit, the speed limit really quickly. You're basically foot to the floor almost the whole time because the snow and then those tracks, they really suck up your power. Now with this Turbo R, you don't have that issue. This is the one machine here that absolutely powers through the snow. And while the other machines kind of get stuck up in those ruts, this one has so much horsepower that you can just, you know, nail the throttle, crank the wheel, and those front tracks just suck you up right out of the ruts, which is excellent. Now, one of the funny things with this machine is it's almost hard to differentiate what the suspension is doing from what the snow is doing, right? Because the snow is so soft. But we did go over some sort of big whoops and big berms, and just like on land with, or you know, regular dry land with 4 wheels, this X3 just soaks everything up. The ride inside is super smooth, which is just accentuated by the snow. And the one thing Can-Am talks about a lot is flotation. You know, on a snowmobile in the deep powder, you want that floating feeling. You want to feel like it's really pulling you up out of the powder, and here in the X3 you absolutely get that float. These tracks are massive. The fact that they're so wide and so long just means that once you bury that front end, you nail the throttle, and it just feels like the whole machine rises up right out of the snow. Now that's not exactly the case for the Defender or for that Maverick. I mean, they just don't quite have the jam that this thing does. So, you know, just for pure fun, you have to get the X3. Again, that's pretty much the exact same when you have wheels on it as well. But out here in the snow, the extra power is really appreciated. On the inside, I really like the cockpit in this X3 as well, and that actually goes for the Defender and for the Maverick Sport. Can-Am interiors are really nice, well laid out. The thing the Maverick has is a really great kind of low, you're almost leaned back sort of seating position, kind of F1 driver style, which just makes it feel that much more aggressive, which is awesome. Then you get into the Defender, and the Defender, you get that really tall seating position because it's a utility machine, but that makes you feel really good out here too. You get great sight lines, and the Defender, you leave your foot on the floor and it just plows through everything out here. There's a lot less carving, a lot less nuance when you're in the Defender. You just, hit stuff head on and hope it makes it through, and so far it's made it through every single time. Here in the X3, you can actually sort of carve a little bit more. So the big thing with these kits, I think, is are they worth the money? And you know what? They've told me it's about $8,000 Canadian to get one of these backcountry kits, about $7,000 in the US. Now there are so many different prices here that rather than just list them all off, I thought I would throw them all up on screen. So first of all, you have to note all the prices you see here are in Canadian dollars. When it comes to the new track kits, the Backcountry LTs, there is no US price just yet, but you're probably looking at about $1,000 less in the United States. So if you look at the Backcountry LTs, you're going to be spending $8,000 to get these for your Defender or Maverick X3. But that's not all. You have to buy the track mounting kit, which in this case can cost as little as $739 or as much as $1,049. So that depends on your model. Then you move over to the DPS module. You have to get that as well. Now that is going to change your power steering to make it stronger so that these tracks can turn in the snow, and it will also reprogram your speedometer and odometer to make sure they are working properly. And finally, you have to buy a new filter for your air intake and for the CVT to make sure it's going to keep all of that fine snow out of there and keep your machine running strong. So if we're talking about the Defender or the Maverick on Backcountry LTs, you're looking at a total price of over $9,000 Canadian for these tracks. And to keep in mind, that doesn't include the cab. Now the year-round tracks, the Apache 360s, they're not nearly as expensive, selling for just $4,924. The mounting kits are a little bit cheaper, and then the module and the filters are the same price. So if you do want this extra special snow performance, you are going to spend more money. That's expensive. That's a lot of money. There's no doubt about it. And the truth is, if you leave your tires on, you're probably still going to get maybe 9 months out of your side-by-side or ATV before the snow truly gets too deep. But look, if you look at it compared to a snowmobile, these things will keep up with sleds all day long. When you're on the trail, maybe not quite in the deep powder, but on the trail, you're absolutely going to keep up. So from that perspective, you got to buy the machine, then you have to buy the kit, but then you get a 12-month of the year machine. You don't need to own more than one machine. It's always nice to have one powertrain to maintain, one machine to maintain. However, there's one more thing you have to keep in mind. Honestly, I can't imagine anyone buying one of these kits and not having the windshield and the doors. I kind of think they should be packaged together, because without a windshield, you're just going to be eating snow all day. This point was really driven home to me while I was driving the Maverick Sport. So this was the only machine in our group that did not have a windshield wiper, and I actually had to stop multiple times to make sure I got that windshield cleaned because I could not see a thing. So a windshield wiper and a cab are pretty much necessities when it comes to these track kits. Speaking of cabs, now let's take a look at the pricing. So on the low end, you're looking at about $3,000 for one of those soft-sided cab systems. And then on the high end, you can spend another $8,000 if you really want to. So how much you spend is up to you. And best of all, you can mix and match. You can get different windshields and different doors. So whatever's going to suit your riding and your budget, that's what you can buy. And I will say that we had both soft and hard-sided cabs on our models. And the soft-sided cabs, the cheaper ones, they did a great job, easily as good as the hard-sided ones. So if you did want to save a little bit of money here, you can, but you do pretty much have to get one of these cabs, and at the very least, you're gonna want a windshield. especially here in the 72-inch wide model. Those tracks you can see from this shot, they're all the way outside of the fender. So the snow is just thrown right up at your face all day, right onto the windshield. Thank goodness for the windshield wipers here, even though to be honest, they're kind of weak too. Another thing that should be part of the winter kit is a stronger windshield wiper. So yeah, you know what? There's cost there too. You don't just got to buy the tracks. You got to get the tracks. You got to get the entire cab. But then let me say, once you have it all, and you can get a heater for these machines too, once you have all that stuff and you're inside, it's like a Sunday drive. It's amazing. You know what? On a snowmobile, you're still exposed to the elements. You're out there, you could be cold. Here, you got the heat on, you got your tunes on, you got the windows closed, you got your windshield wiper on. It's just absolute maximum wintertime driving comfort.
Do recommend always when you're riding with backcountries, it just increases the pleasure for the day to ride with the cab. So we've got the back panel, the roof, the upper doors, and the power flip windshield. What's cool about the power flip windshield, think of it as your automotive windshield, your side windows that go up and down. Well, this, you just have an electric button and it goes up and down. Stop it in any position you want. This one's got the, it's the manual flip windshield. So if you want air, you've got, yeah, I'm just going to show. You've got that one notch that offers you ventilation, and then you can go all the way up. And you can ride with it up if you want.
So you definitely do need to invest in one of these packages, but I'll say it one more time, you spend the initial investment, put the money out there, get this machine, and then you know every November you suit it up for wintertime, and you basically have yourself a winter-ready rider for a couple months, and then you put the wheels back on, you're good to go. Now, Can-Am says you can do it yourself. They recommend that you go to your dealer, which I think is understandable, but if you did want to do this yourself, probably a couple hours the first time, and then they say once you get good at it, you could do this whole thing in under an hour. And yeah, if you own these things for multiple years, you probably end up doing it yourself, and having such a quick switch off is pretty convenient as well.
That's fun, man.
That's so fun. It is true, these Apache track kits, they don't come cheap, okay? You definitely do have to spend good money to get this system. But what you're essentially getting now is a year-round machine. If you own one of these side-by-sides, you can now run it in the snow. And I know tires will do okay in some loose snow, but the stuff we're in today, this deep powder, no chance that tires will be able to hack it out here. So you know what? It might seem expensive to get the kit, and when the snow does fall, you can go out with your buddies on their sleds and keep up all day long. So that's it for this review, guys. Make sure you go down below, hit subscribe, and come back here to TFL Off-Road for the latest news, views, and real-world reviews. See ya.